guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gloria. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today I wanted to pot up some plants. So I have some cuttings that were rooted in water, which is my begonia. I have a hoya cutting that I want to pot up that was in moss, and I want to divide my Aglaonema because it's getting a little bit big and I wanted to kind of just share it with a friend. So yeah, I'm pretty much just going to be potting up a few plants today, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of my videos, and yeah, let's get started. So I'll probably start off with this little begonia cutting. So it's a really tall cutting and I want to stake it up with a little bamboo stick, and the roots are looking pretty good. Ooh, spilled some water. So the roots are about like maybe 2 inches long or 1.5 inches. It seems fine to me. I don't generally like to root my cuttings in water because I find water roots are a little harder to adjust to soil versus moss to soil. So I want to transfer it sooner rather than later before the roots get really tangled. And I have my soil mix here. So this is 2 parts cactus soil, some perlite, 1 part perlite, and a little bit of bark in there as well, just to kind of improve the drainage. There isn't a whole lot of bark. I usually use a little bit more bark if I'm planting my aroids, but for begonias I think they're fine. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of soil at the bottom and go ahead and pot this up. So this is in a 3.5 inch pot, and then I want to keep it in a ceramic pot so that it can kind of retain some water and not be in terracotta. I'm kind of straying away from terracotta pots lately because they just leave this like really annoying like salt buildup or mineral buildup along the sides, and I just don't want to deal with it unless it's for succulents and cacti. Okay, so this one is going to be fairly easy just because it's like a 1 stem like cutting. I hate having to pot up stuff like pothos and philodendron, like vining philodendrons, when there's just so many different pieces that you have to hold on to and arrange inside the pot. This is just like super easy and you could just get it done literally in like 1 pour. I'm just trying to do a little bit more slowly so I don't like spill everything everywhere, because I tend to do that. Honestly, I'm such a mess. Okay. So I want to make sure I cover all the roots because the roots were growing all along the stem. So with begonia roots, they don't just grow on the node. It's really weird actually. It grows like literally everywhere. All along the stem. So let's cover all the roots. Pack it down a little bit. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And I'm gonna use my little bamboo stick. So this one's actually pretty tall and I think it'll be pretty good because this begonia is quite tall already and it hasn't even grown. So I usually use like plant velcro. Let me just grab it. So I have a couple pieces of like cut plant velcro already. Probably just took it off another plant to be honest, and just gonna tie it up and secure it. So that's, I'll probably do 2 pieces. I think this is too long. I think that looks pretty good. So I think that's looking pretty good. And I'm just gonna water it so the soil is a bit more compact and doesn't move around. Okay, that's pretty good. So now that the soil's wet, the stick doesn't really shift around, and I think this begonia will really enjoy this new setup, and I don't have to deal with having to top up the water from evaporation all the time. So that's the only thing I really kind of don't like about water propagations. Like, you have to make sure like algae doesn't form on the bottle and gets all green and nasty, and then I don't know, it's just annoying. So yeah, moving on, I'll do my Hoya elliptica cuttings. I haven't checked the roots recently, but last I checked, there were roots. So let's just pop these out. So with Hoya cuttings, I like to do it in moss, and I just keep the moss moist, not super like soaking wet or anything, and roots grow in no time. So this is a cutting I got from my friend, which was a single cutting with 4 leaves, and I decided to chop it into 2 just so it's easier to root, and there's actually a lot of really healthy roots. That's how the root system is looking right now. Really good. And I'll pot this up together with the other cutting. So I'll have 4 leaves into a single pot. So this one's a little bit shorter, but it still has roots, and once it grows roots in moss, it's not really an issue of transferring it into soil. I don't like it when it's too rooted in moss because it gets tangled, and that's no fun to try to untangle roots from sphagnum moss. I rather grow all my Hoyas in soil, as I've mentioned before numerous times. So I'm just gonna use this, like, I don't know, 2.5 inch pot with drainage holes at the bottom, and I'll stick the 2 cuttings inside and just kind of try to arrange it nicely. Yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty good. So I'll try to just do it something like that. So I'm gonna start off once again with some soil at the bottom. Ooh. I try not to use like really big pieces of bark in my Hoyas because, oh, but bark does help with drainage, and you don't want to keep your Hoyas too wet, especially because they can rot really easily. So I think that looks pretty good. There's a bunch of soil on it at the moment, so I'm probably just gonna try to water it and clean off all the soil. Yeah, so that's my Hoya elliptica. I really like the veining on this. It's so cute. Okay, moving on, now gets to the messy part because I have to take out my Aglaonema. So this is Aglaonema chocolate. I bought it from a local nursery. I've already actually divided it into 2 plants, and my other plant is doing great. So this one was my other plant. It's usually in kind of like the background of my videos. So this one's thriving. It's literally like 12 plus feet from a north facing window. Doesn't really need much. And this one also doesn't really get much light. It's in my kitchen actually with a south facing window, but it's blocked by a giant fridge. So it doesn't really get any direct sunlight. If anything, it's not really bright. So it still managed to grow a lot, and there's so many roots. Actually crazy. Okay, so can you guys see all the roots? So I'm just gonna remove some of the soil and pick a piece that has a good amount of leaves. This one looks pretty easy to separate. So you just want to split it as kind of close to the bottom as possible, and make sure that your division actually has a root system before you pull it off. Otherwise, you don't want to have to grow roots because that takes a lot longer, and you just won't get like new growth as quickly, especially because we're going into fall and winter. It's getting colder, so plants are definitely not going to be growing as quickly. So I think this one looks like the easiest to kind of just pull off. So I first just try to really wiggle it out, and I try to break as little roots as possible. Hard to snap, but that's normal. I still see a lot of roots that are attached to this piece. Okay, So honestly, this looked like a separate plant. I didn't really have to separate this like stalk from the rest of the plant, where for my first division I actually had to like break it apart. So this one definitely got a lot less stress, I would say. So I'm just gonna put this back into this pot and kind of arrange it so that it still looks nice and full, and put the old soil back. I don't find a need to really like use new soil because I got this plant pretty recently and I repotted it when I brought it home. So this is already in pretty fresh soil. I would say maybe like less than 2 months, 3 months, something like that. That's looking pretty good. It still looks really full. Back into the cover pot it goes. And honestly, I can't really even tell a difference. It still looks really good. Now time to deal with this bad boy. This is really big. I don't think my friend was expecting such a big plant. Oh man. Do you think this 4-inch pot is enough? I do not. Okay. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I like to put some soil at the bottom just so like the roots aren't literally at the drainage hole, because then they stick out the drainage hole trying to look for water, and that's just not good. So this one I will water afterwards because I've made a complete mess and I don't want water everywhere. Let's bring all the plant babies back. This is the elliptica. This one is the Aglaonema chocolate. And this one is my begonia. So that pretty much concludes today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed and, you know, just watched as I repot some plants. And yeah, I thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.